Sports with me in studio today, Thabiso Sithole. Thabiso, hi there. Thanks for your time.
Hey, Tash, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Great stuff.
All right, so I suppose we should start with the PSL.
Yeah.
And I mean, champions-elect Sundowns, they'll be crowned, but we still need to go through.
Done deal with
Yeah.
as far as Sundowns is concerned. But before we go into that, we did the tennis now. Just a quick update. Kevin Anderson's currently on court, also at the Madrid Open, and he could face Rafa Nadal in the semis if the draw is correct. Kevin currently took the first set against Lajovic of Serbia by 7-6, so we're looking out for that match.
You see, this is why we keep you around.
But anyway, like you said, football this weekend, I mean, literally, I would say normally we say all roads lead to whether it's the F&B Stadium or down in Devon. This weekend, all matches start at 3 o'clock on Saturday. This is the final round of the Absolute Premiership. Like you said, Sundowns already been crowned champions, but there's still plenty to play for. The relegation battle is still up for grabs. You know, currently Platinum Stars at the bottom of the table as far as the standings are concerned. But that could also flip on his head, basically, because we're still waiting the result of that Ajax of Cape Town and Andorra saga. Because as you see it, it's going to be a tough draw for Platinum Stars. Basically, they need to win their last match, and hopefully, Ajax of Cape Town lose their match, and then all of a sudden, Platinum Stars are not relegated, and Ajax of Cape Town could be the ones leaving. As it stands right now, as you see the fixtures on the screen, it's still anyone's game. The top 8 is still yet to be decided. Only, I think, the top 2 positions, being Sundowns and Orlando Pirates, are a done deal. Kaizer Chiefs and Maritzburg United will be fighting for the top 3 position. Cape Town City also plenty to play for. So a lot of exciting fixtures, a lot of outcomes expected, and the matches start at 3, so nobody can give another one the leg up. I'm a bit torn between this weekend, because my home team, Maritzburg United, are playing Golden Arrows, and that too, for me, being a KZN derby, I want Arrows to win because, you know, want at least 2 teams outside of Gauteng, or more than 2 teams outside of Gauteng, to be in the top 8. It makes the league a bit more interesting. On the same place, Maritzburg United, tough one against Kaizer, trying to fight off Kaizer Chiefs, but there's plenty to play for.
Absolutely.
But that saga, like I'm saying now, the saga with the the Andorra saga, pertaining to whether the eligibility to play Ajax of Cape Town fielded him after playing 3 clubs in one season, that could really scupper the Premier Soccer League as it is, because that means the playoffs for the National First Division cannot go ahead until this is decided. And that matter was supposed to sit, I think, a couple of days ago, and it hasn't sat yet. So basically, the league could be up in limbo depending on the results this weekend. If Platinum Stars loses, then everything should be fine, because Platinum Stars, Ajax of Cape Town, took 3 points from Platinum Stars in regular season of play. So if Platinum Stars loses, then that could be done and dusted. But if they win and Ajax of Cape Town lose, then it's all to play for once again.
It just opens it all up all over again.
Wide open, basically.
All right, let's take a look at some athletics news. Athletics, of course, being under the spotlight of late. What have we got coming in from China?
Look, we've got 4 athletes. Unfortunately, Caster's not running this weekend. We saw how she ran a couple of days ago, I think in Doha, where she ran a new South African record in the 1,500 meter event. In particular, what made it nice for me on that race, because it was all the talk about the IWF's new rulings and how they're going to try and get her to lower her testosterone levels. She's not running, unfortunately, now in Shanghai, but we still got 4, at least, quartet of South Africans looking forward to Luva Manyonga being one of them. I think he's the leader of the pack, and as far as that's concerned, it's obviously the second leg of the IWF Diamond League competition. So Luva's out there in the long jump. Sunat Viljoen, she came 3rd, I think, in the Commonwealth Games in the javelin, so she'll be looking to go a bit better on that one. Also, Wenda Nel, she's doing fairly well, as well as Reinhard van Rensburg. They've taken part in the 400 meter hurdles and 800 respectively, so plenty to look forward there.
Any particular reason she's not running?
Look, athletes choose these races. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you need to win a couple. I think the most important ones come later on in the season, and points are up for grabs, so you can always make up points. You don't necessarily have to run the whole season, because at the end of the day, it's the one, I think, in Brussels, that's the big one, where the big money will be spent. And again, it's per invite, so the more invites you get, the more you want to go and run. So I mean, they do miss them out a couple of times. They don't necessarily have to run every single one of the legs of the leagues.
All right, and then Super Rugby, always a lot to play for there. What are we looking at this weekend?
Look, we've already seen the first results early this morning, and that was the Blues. Their season is so blue. I know it's such a pun, but going down this round, 36-15 to the Hurricanes. Week 13, though, continues a bit later on. Sunwolves host the Reds. That's later on. In fact, that'll be first thing tomorrow morning. Then you've got the Crusaders up against the Waratahs. You see the fixtures on screen right now. The Highlanders, well, they host South Africa's best franchise, being the Lions. The Brumbies are up against the Rebels. Then Cape Town in Kaapstad, we have the Stormers hosting the Chiefs. And the big one for the weekend?
Bulls and Sharks.
Well, you know we all know who's...
Need we say more, Thabiso Sithole?
That's going to be an interesting one, in particular as well, because the Sharks last weekend, they've had a horrible season.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the Sharks, but they're so unpredictable. I mean, on one day they pull out...
They really are. They are probably one of the most inconsistent teams out there.
I mean, one day they pull out the performance of champions, which they did last weekend. Then against the Bulls, I would not be surprised if the Bulls put another 50 past them. It's just one of those things. You know, the Sharks are so unpredictable.
Well, hopefully you've just jinxed it in the positive for the Sharks.
The thing is, the one thing I hate about the Bulls much is that I've never forgotten, and up until today, Brian Abena robbed us. That Super Rugby final where that was a forward
that's a long time been holding on to that.
I'm still holding on to that grass. It's going nowhere. But also, before we move on, there's also great news as well that I picked up a short while ago before I came to studio, is that SA Rugby have now decided that basically the coach has carte blanche to choose Springbok players, players for the Springboks. Remember in the past, the Springbok players to represent the country were only compromised in fact, there was a compromise reached that players overseas who did not play in South Africa could not be chosen. Rassie Erasmus seems like he said, look, I'm going to scrap that. Anyone who's eligible to play for South Africa, in fact, is going to play. So that's going to be good news for a lot of people who've been saying, we've got depth outside of the country, maybe we should start looking there. So, and I think maybe on the back of also the announcement made by SA Rugby yesterday saying they're looking to put SA Rugby more into European rugby as well. Maybe there's a compromise all round to try and bring South African rugby.
Some deals being reached between
but it looks like
and things.
Good news in as far as SA Rugby is concerned. Anyone who is South African and is playing rugby can represent the country, regardless whether you're playing in Super Rugby, Pro 14, or anywhere else in the world.
That is good news, especially seeing as we've got that tour coming up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, the season for Rassie, new coach, starts in, I think 2nd in June. They're out in the United States for that I don't know what you want to call it, but that friendly game, away game. So, again, as I said, there's still plenty to play for. But for the Springbok season, a good result for me because there's still England coming up, there's still Wales coming up, so I want them to do well. Hopefully Rassie is the answer to all the problems we've been having over the past couple of years.
I hope so too. Thabiso, thank you very much. We'll leave it there on that happy note. Thabiso Sithole with us on a Friday going through some of our weekend sporting highlights. But from the News Live team, that's it from us. Thanks so much for joining us. We're back with you on Monday. Have yourselves a good weekend. The weather after the break.